What's up, folks? Justin Phillip here, and today we're going to continue our little scopes dialogue. We've got our ProRes footage from yesterday that we shot on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. If you didn't check that video out or you missed that video, I highly recommend it so you know what the hell is going on. It was basically someone had asked me how I shoot real estate videos and maintain the image outside of the windows, meaning I don't blow my windows out when shooting real estate videos. And we talked about that by using scopes. Just go watch the video. But now we're going to take the footage and we're going to drop it into the computer. And I'm going to show you guys a very, very basic primary color grade that you can use in both Premiere and DaVinci.
YouTube videos now? You one of those bloggers? What's going on?
A low-budget indie filmmaker sharing tips and tricks with other low-budget indie filmmakers. You're going to realize a few things right off the bat. One, you don't need to be a professional color gradist or even know a lot about color grading to just get your image up to a deliverable when working in log footage. That applies to no matter what you're working in. I mean, we shot ours in Blackmagic Film Log, but you could have V-Log, you could have S-Log, whatever your crazy log is called and whatever camera you use. It's pretty simple in both Lumetri and DaVinci. However, we are going to then compare the two side by side, DaVinci versus Lumetri, and it's also going to give you an idea of way more options that are available in DaVinci and why it is the world's #1 leading color grading software that is available out there, and it is free for the light version on blackmagicdesign.com. This is not an ad for DaVinci. This is not an ad for anything. This is just to show you guys a couple different options. Very basic primary color grade that you can achieve, again, using your waveform and vector scopes. So let's jump into the computers and check it out. Okay, we are in Premiere here. So here's our footage from yesterday. This is ProRes footage taken from the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Basically what we do, guys, we click and drag this down here, we drop that there, right? Now what we're gonna do is I turn on my Lumetri scopes. And you'll see I have it set up already for, much like how my Shinobi was set up, the waveform monitor and my vector scope. Now if you wanna change any of your scopes, you're gonna click this wrench right here and you can change any of these things. If you wanted to look at your histogram, there we've added the Rgb Histogram. Or if you want to take it off, you just uncheck it. I don't really use the Rgb histogram. These are the two I use the most, the vector scope and the waveform. Now let's say you wanted to look at the waveform that was RGB. Well, you can just click waveform type. Let's do that again. Wrench, waveform type, RGB. And now you can see more of the colors. This is actually how it looks in DaVinci as well, and you'll see later on. That's okay, but for the sake of this little tutorial here, we're going to leave it on Luma. I like the Luma one. I think yesterday I called it Yuma. I generally turn on these scopes right off the bat. I turn my waveform monitor on and I get in here right away and I go to color wheels and I say, okay, man, you see up here, this is where we were dealing with yesterday, outdoors behind her head. So we're just gonna bring these highlights down a little bit. I'm gonna try to get that off of the top there. There it goes. Okay, so we salvaged that a little bit. We brought that down. You can maybe bring it down a little more, try to get it around the 90 mark. It helps by, now the midtones is different. Our midtones are a little low because that's where our girl's head is. So it's just a matter of a balancing act, getting those midtones back up where they belong. I would push it a little more actually. See how far we can push it. Now this is ProRes, so it's not gonna be as malleable as like obviously a raw file, but ProRes will be better to work with than like an MP4 out of your GH5 or something. That's why if you can do .mov, you should be doing .mov if you're working on a GH5 or GH4. Okay, so there now we're starting to be pretty good. Here we can toggle it off and on and see where it was before, see where we are now. See, we're just scratching the surface with these color wheels. You can come in here to your correction, hit your white balance eyedropper, try to get that colors back on. See how it just barely adjusts it. We were pretty good with white balance yesterday. Generally what I do, I like to drop the blacks just a little bit, just to bring those down. See how it's slowly bringing us down over here. I like to pump up the when you do saturation, You can turn your waveform on to RGB just so you can see what's going on here more. And you can slowly start to pump up this saturation, get some color in your image. A little more. There you can see what's going on with your colors. Now we can pop out of that and go back to the Luma. Okay, so now we can pop back and forth. Look at, this is where we were, this is where we're at. So you see here, there's some things happening. Her face is looking better. That's still in basic correction. You can come here to the curves, and this is fun to mess around with. You drop this down a little bit. Just want to bring this part down a tad. There we go. And then, of course, with the, you always hear about S curve, and this is what they're talking about. You want to try to create a nice S, just so it goes woo and bounces out a little bit. And there we go. And now if we blow this up, you can see where we are and where we were. So you see there's not a whole lot happening here. It's just a very basic primary color grade. And this is a launching point for anyone that says, okay, you were here at this image. Basic primary color grade gets you to this. And then you can really start jumping in here and playing around. And at any point it gets too crazy, you just say, for instance, oh man, these blacks are too much. You just double click the circle and it goes right back to 0. Okay? But I mean, you could literally sit in here and play with this. But I would primarily, if you're just starting out, I would stick around with these color wheels and your curve. I wouldn't play around too much with your curve because this can get a little crazy. Like, this quickly can break apart your image. Like, look here, we'll drop this down. Then you go, whoa, 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 what the fuck? And then you go, whoa, 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 and you start really bending and tearing up your image, and you could get really crazy with this. You just double click this and it goes back to where it was. But you could play around trying to bring up that midsection right there in the middle. And that helps that. If you wanted to bring down the back end, you could just twist that down. Went a little too far there. There we go. You could probably just pump that up just a tad. You want to go here into your color wheels. You could bring up your highlights just a little bit more. And there you'll see. Yeah. See, I kind of, what we're doing, we're spreading out this waveform. We got it off the edge there. We bring in this part down. And we're just playing around a little bit. So you can see the before and you can see the after. The main thing is her face is definitely popping out. Right now, you know, in your log image, and boom, there she is. This is her face right here on the waveform. So let's blow this up and let's take a little screenshot of this so we can compare that when we go into DaVinci. Now here's where it gets a little more fun, guys, because now we are in DaVinci, and now this is more what I'm attuned to. Now, okay, so this is just, again, this is just a very basic primary color grade. There's nothing amazing going on here. We just want to get it up to an image that is going to be doable here. What we can do in here is, again, we start with our waveform here. What I like to do is start bringing down this offset. We're going to bring this down. There we go, right there. We can get our lift down there. Now you'll notice that we got our, just very, very slowly. Let's see, where do we want our girl? We want our girl about right there. We want her around that middle line there. You see this? We're just tweaking this just a tad. You can really fine tune this stuff in here. It's really nice. That's kind of the safe zone right there. We can take our little corrector here, get our colors up to par right there. We're going to move our contrast here and just slowly widen it. So we're just thickening out this waveform by messing with our contrast. Now what I was doing before is I was adjusting this offset. You'll see I'm using the offset to put my girl's face. Look, this little hole right here, just like yesterday when we were capturing, this is our girl's face right here. So we're just using the offset to try to get her up around this little dotted line, this 512. This is our middle line. This is where we want our faces to live. Now our gain, we can try to get this about right there. The gamma, you see what we're doing? We're just adjusting this waveform and getting it to a spot that not only looks good up here in the screen monitor, but also is looking good on the waveform monitor. So it's just kind of a balancing act of figuring out what looks good to the eye and also what looks good to the science of the image. Now see, you could pump that up, but look, notice this is your bottom line here. You kind of destroying your image then. You want to leave that down where it belongs. This line right here, this solid white line, this is your baseline. Once you start introducing that above the base, it starts getting a little crunchy. So you just want to barely work with that. This is pretty good. You can add some saturation to this just to thicken out this waveform monitor. Probably too much right there. I'd probably keep it around 60 or so, 50, 60. I would keep it around 60 so her face tends to look normal. I know it's just a mannequin, but now there are just so many things you can do in here. Now most people would mess with these. This is very similar to what's in Lumetri, but I like to stick around with the lift and the gain and the offset. And again, if you ever want to reset any of these, you would just click this little circle here, this half, the reset little circle, boom, and that just puts you back. But you see there, whoa, we got to put it back down. And the offset's going to bring that tabletop down so it's not so whacked out up there. Now we can jump here. We can mess with our curves in here again. Just bring that down just to, we can just play with this stuff. This is all we're doing. We're just playing around with this footage, seeing what can happen, seeing what we can do here. Now see, if this was Blackmagic RAW, you could come in here to RAW and really change, and you could really enhance your image. But we weren't doing Blackmagic RAW for a couple of reasons. One, we weren't doing Blackmagic RAW because I did want to show you guys what you could do within Lumetri. And Blackmagic RAW right now is not available to be used inside of a Premiere unless you pay for the $30 plugin, which is weird because Blackmagic has made it open to the public. Now if you click here on the number 2, now we can go in here and you'll see the temperature and things. You can mess with your shadows and highlights in here as well. Now this is interesting. Look at that. You can bring it down, bring back some of that color outside. You can bring down this shadow a little bit here. You can bring that up. Look at that. That's looking pretty nice actually. I like that a lot. Okay, so this is just a very, very basic primary color grade. You can look at your vector scope here. This all looks good. You could click on show skin tone indicator. See that? Okay, so this is here what we've came up with just by messing with a few simple things here, guys. The offset, the gain, the gamma, the lift. We used our white balance eyedropper here, put it on the white to get in a better white balance. I adjusted, I didn't really mess with my shadows too much. The highlights I brought down because we're dealing with that highlight problem. Over here on the curve, we did, make a little bit more of an S curve, but again, we had to be careful because of our, we're trying to protect the highlights outside of this window. But now if you wanted to see where we were before, right here, just kind of all like a mushy sameness with this log image. Then we turn on what we did with our color grade and we brought a lot of color to our girl's face and brought back some nice vibrant colors outside. So now we're looking good outside and inside. Now something cool we can do here is I can go here, I can say I'm going to grab a still of this. this is kind of cool with DaVinci. We want to go here and click clips, and then if I click on the new one, now this one hasn't been color graded yet, but I can go over here to my still that I captured in the last shot. I can right click and say apply the grade, and now the grade has been automatically applied to that one. So now our clips are for the most part matched up. You can see they're a little off because we just simply tweak these. If we want to see again what we were looking at before, you click this little sparkly circle, boom, and boom. So now we can compare our two images here. So you will have better results in this kind of run and gun shooting where you're trying to not completely blow out your windows. Again, if you guys haven't seen that video from yesterday, I recommend checking it out because the whole point of this video was someone had asked me how I was able to preserve what's going on in the windows when shooting real estate videos. And I was just showing like how to use waveforms to do that, to accomplish that. And here's a pretty prime example of how I was able to bring her back and still see outside the window. We're approaching this as novice color gradists, right? Like we're approaching this, how can I achieve good results with just a very basic primary color grade by simply using your waveform monitor and your vector scopes while both in capturing the image and then to carry it over in post. And I highly recommend you guys check out DaVinci Resolve Lite. It's a free download and you can see just very kind of cool how you can get results like this. As always, thank you for watching. Big shout out. Huge thank you, as always, to all of my loyal subscribers. You guys rock. And for now, that's a wrap.